From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. All eyes were on the presidential election last night, Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris. But we cover Colorado here on In The NoCo, and there were also a lot of significant Colorado issues on the ballot, like what the state constitution says about same-sex marriage, and who should review ethics cases involving judges, and whether a right to an abortion should be protected in Colorado. We've got the rundown on all those issues thanks to our in-house politics and elections reporter, Lucas Brady Woods. So let's get right into it, Lucas. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So, Lucas, last night, voters approved Amendment 79, which enshrined the right to an abortion in Colorado's state constitution. Talk about that campaign.
So there have been a number of state laws passed over the last few years that have added protections for abortion and access to abortion for Coloradans. And this sort of takes it to the next level. It adds another layer of protection to abortion rights and the right to access legal abortions in Colorado, and protecting that access from changes on the federal level. You know, we already saw Roe v. Wade repealed, and so this is a step to protect the right to abortion within the state, regardless of the action that the Supreme Court takes.
And this amendment passed pretty handily, one of the early calls of the night. How surprised were you at that?
Not very surprised. This is an issue that's pretty important to Colorado, and we've seen a lot of support for it from not just the people of Colorado, but from lawmakers. And we haven't seen a lot of strong pushback or effective pushback from people who are opposed to abortion rights in Colorado.
Well, Lucas, let's turn to a measure Colorado voters approved that addressed same-sex marriage, Amendment J. Tell us about what that measure did.
Again, this one's also about codifying a right in the state constitution. So until now, there has been this provision in the state constitution that actually defines marriage as only between a man and a woman. So essentially defines it as not same-sex marriage. Since same-sex marriage was legalized on the federal level years ago, that provision in the state constitution became essentially obsolete. So this Amendment J is pulling that language out of the state constitution. But it's about more than just removing obsolete language, right? This is also about protecting the right to same-sex marriage in Colorado, despite what happens on the federal level. And I think this is particularly a response to the conservative-leaning Supreme Court, making sure to protect the right to same-sex marriage if they decide to reverse the legalization on the federal level.
Right. Well, I want to turn to a measure that voters passed that creates an independent judicial review panel to examine ethics issues when a judge is involved. Talk about that measure and what it does.
This one stems from a number of issues over the last couple of years with judicial oversight and oversight of ethics within the judicial department. There is a body that oversees ethics and misconduct within the judicial department, but this is about creating another body that's independent of the judicial department to oversee it, because there have been these issues with ethics over the last couple of years that weren't effectively handled internally. So this is about some independent oversight of the judicial branch here in Colorado.
Lucas, one of the more unusual local issues was a ban on slaughterhouses in Denver. The city has exactly one slaughterhouse, and Denver voters rejected a measure to ban it from operating.
They did, and they rejected it pretty handily by about 58% of the vote. And like you said, there's just one slaughterhouse within Denver, and this slaughterhouse is focused on lamb specifically. It's one of the few places that provides halal certified products, which means that the meat is prepared in accordance with Muslim tradition and under Islamic teachings. So specifically, it provides halal certified meat to the Muslim community. It would also, if it closed, it would lay off a bunch of people, and it seems that Denver just was not willing, the people of Denver just were not willing to vote against and shut down that one slaughterhouse.
And the opposition to the measure was really interesting. We saw it coming from small farmers and ranchers as well as restaurant operators.
Right. There was an interesting group, a coalition really, that opposed this. And there was talk, of shutting down the slaughterhouse because it fills a niche, could really affect those products that it provides and the access to them and the cost of them.
Well, in other news, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert moved to a new congressional district, and she won the seat in her new district. Lucas, tell us about that race.
So her new district is in the northeast corner of Colorado, and it's the 4th district, and it leans even more Republican than her previous district on the western slope, the 3rd district. And she only won re-election in the 3rd district in 2022 by about 500 votes. So it was very, very close. And so she decided she wanted to run and potentially decided it was safer to run in the 4th district. And that's what she's done. It's a very, very strong Republican district. So Lauren Boebert did handily win, and we'll give her another term in Congress, just not representing the same people she's been representing.
Really quickly, could you tell us about some of the other congressional races that were decided in Colorado?
Yeah, all the Democratic congresspeople, except for Yadira Caraveo, won re-election pretty handily. We're talking Colorado's 1st district, where Diana DeGette won re-election. In Denver, we have in the 2nd district, Joe Neguse won re-election in his Boulder-based district that stretches all the way up to the Wyoming border. Jason Crow won re-election in the 6th district, which encompasses Aurora and sort of around Denver to Littleton. And then in the 7th district, Brittany Pedersen won as well. So these were all Democratic incumbents, except for Boebert, who's also won. And many of their districts, these aren't a huge surprise. They were all pretty much expected to win re-election.
One thing we should note before I let you go, Lucas, Colorado's county clerks have said it may be days before we have all the votes counted. So we may not have a decision for all of the races and all of the measures for several days, right?
That's correct.
Lucas Brady Woods is KUNC's elections and politics reporter. He'll have more updates for us in the days ahead at KUNC.org. Lucas, thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure to be here.
KUNC News and NPR are your source for coverage of the 2024 election. You can hear updates as more results are announced. Listen on air or visit KUNC.org. And you can make sure you don't miss any episodes of In The NoCo by following the show for free wherever you listen to podcasts. That's it today for this election edition of In The NoCo. I'm Erin O'Toole. Thanks for listening.